Youch. Does your first step in the morning ever feel like that? Or maybe after sitting down in a chair for a while and those first few steps? If so, you're probably dealing with, or I should say you might be dealing with plantar fasciitis. It's a super common cause of pain on the bottom of the foot, right there on the heel. The plantar fascia comes across this bottom of the foot and it attaches right on the front of your heel bone. On the front and even a little to the inside, that's where people get that pain. It's very focused, it's pinpoint, it can be sharp, it can be quite a lot to handle. And there's different things that you can do to help that out. One of those things is they can put tape on it. And historically people have used what's called a low dye tape to tape the plantar fascia, which can be effective. But there are complaints that people have. One is it's not very mobile, it's a pretty rigid tape. And so after a while, it can get uncomfortable to have that tape on your foot. It's not very breathable, so it can cause you to sweat, and it's not very easy on the skin. And so this year, 2024, they did a study, and they found that kinesiology tape is actually more effective. You get quicker pain relief, but on top of that, it's way more comfortable to wear on your foot. So in this video, we're going to get started and I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to get your plantar fasciitis taped up using kinesiology tape. I'm going to start with 2 strips about this long, which is going to be right for my foot because we're going to be putting that over the top of the foot and then 1 strip under the bottom of the foot. Now, this kinesiology tape, it works really well. It doesn't stick to tape very well, so they do have different spray-on adhesives. I'm not going to use that in this demonstration, but I would highly recommend it in order to help get more adhesion on the foot. It's going to last longer. The foot can be kind of sweaty and that can make it difficult for this tape to stay on. Plus when you're taping it on tape, which we're going to be doing in this example, it can be really effective. So first things, let's talk about tension. When we're putting on tape, this tape side to side, it does not have any flex, any pull. But lengthwise, it can stretch. It can stretch quite a bit. So if you take a segment and you stretch it as far as it'll go, that's considered a 100% stretch. And if you stretch it halfway, that's considered a 50% stretch. So this first one, we're going to be doing a 50% stretch, and that tape is going to go on the inside of the top of those, well, they're called your metatarsal heads. From the inside to the outside, let me show you what that looks like. So take your tape, take off the paper on the back on one side, and then put it right under, right at the base of your toes. And with, once again, a 50% stretch, I maybe got too much tape here. You're just gonna lightly pull about half of the stretch that's available across that top of your foot, and then wrap it under. With the second strip, we're going to do the same, except the opposite. We're going to go on the bottom of the foot, wrap around that metatarsal head on the side, bring it with about 50% stretch up and around so that we have that support right across that part of our foot. Okay, for this next stretch, we're going to need a longer piece of tape. I would recommend on this step maybe planning for a little bit longer than you need because it's better to trim off an inch or 2 rather than wishing that you had more tape. And what we're going to be doing, so here's my baby toe, here's my big toe. We're going to be starting on that edge of that baby toe and we're going to go wrap down around the heel and around and then back up to our starting point. Once we get to this pain point, we're going to start to put a little over 50% tension on that tape to help to pull it and bring that tension to that area. So I'm anchoring it here, right at the base of that baby toe. And I would only recommend taking off a little bit of paper at a time because this part can get a little tricky when you're going around the heel. As forgiving as this tape is, once it gets stuck together to itself, it can make it a little tricky. So I'm going up about mid-heel. And once I get to that pain point, which is right there, that's where I'm going to put just a little bit of extra tension, a little over half. And then I'm coming right back to my starting point. Now, as I mentioned, better to have a little bit more tape than you need. And then just anchor that there. If you're just using the spray in certain areas, that's where you would want to use it to make sure it tapes good. Okay, so that's what it should look like. And we're actually going to repeat the same thing, except instead of going from here up and around to there, we're going to start from here and go up and around that way. Okay, so now I know about how long my next piece of tape needs to be. I'm going to make it just a little bit longer once again, because it's happened to be many times where I thought I had enough tape and it turns out that I didn't. So taking the edge off the tape, attaching it right here on the side at the base of my big toe where someone, would maybe get a bunion. And just light tension, no tension, coming down the side. Take your time going around that heel, because that, once again, is the trickiest part. Let me turn around so you can see. Then at this point, once I'm at the front of the heel, that's where I'm going to take a little more tension and slide that up to there. Now I maybe could have used another little bit of tape, but that is still pretty good accomplishing our goal, and this is coming along very nicely. I don't often have the camera angle at this direction. I feel like I'm doing an unboxing video, but next we want 3 strips of tape about that long. We'll take the first one, break off that first piece of paper, and we're going to put these from the heel, from that plantar fascia insertion point, up one here, one down the middle, and then one on the side, all anchoring at the same point right here. And when we're putting these on, once you have it anchored, we're going to use about 60% stretch, which I know what's the difference between 50 and 60, just a little more than half. All the way up to these metatarsal heads on the bottom of your foot. I'm going to apply a little bit more stretch there. Sometimes I'll just apply a little bit of friction to get some heat on there to help that adhesive. This next one's going to be a little longer as well. And we're starting this just past the pain point right here on the bottom of the foot. And this one is coming up just on the front side of that bony bump right here. And I'm going to start over because we actually want almost full tension on this. So I'm going to really put some stretch up here. And I've got much too much here. And then lastly, Actually, this is just perfect. Just a soft one, no tension, mostly just to keep those 3 strips of tape from peeling. Okay, so let's see how that feels. All right, I'm all taped up. You know, while I'm not dealing with any plantar fascia pain right now, that feels really comfortable. It feels like I've got very good support. I have mobility. It's not too tight on any places. I feel like I could go run, I could walk around very comfortably with this. You're going to want to leave this on for at least 2 days, 3, 4, even up to 5 days before you take that off. The first 24 hours is where you're going to find you get the most decrease in pain intensity, but that will continue on day 2 and day 3, and it kind of plateaus at that point, but it's still going to help to maintain that. It's a very, as you saw, you can do it by yourself 100%. I will say it would probably be easier if you had someone who knew what they were doing, that you could work together to get some of those strips in place, but I did just do it by myself. Very doable. And like I said, it's comfortable. It's breathable, I have mobility, but I do feel a lot of good support on that spot on my foot. So give that a shot. Tell me what you think. This is going to be most effective if you've been dealing with your plantar fasciitis for less than 4 weeks. But I would still try it regardless of how long you've had it, because it's not going to hurt anything and it might give you some relief that you're looking for. If you like that video on plantar fasciitis, I would also recommend checking this one out, which goes over an exercise which can be super, super effective for that. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really hope this helped.